Bristol Rovers are hoping for their first top half finish in League One since 16-17, their first season up under Darryl Clark. Hoping to achieve that is Matt Taylor, who replaced some random guy I've forgotten the name of in December. Great start for Matt Taylor, won 3 in his first 5, including some big wins over Bolton and Portsmouth, but 15 defeats in 24 in 2024. Meant that it's kind of season fizzled out, and they're hoping that some ambitious summer recruitment can propel their hopes for the 2024-25 campaign. Can they challenge for the playoffs, and can they make further progress? That's what we're discussing on this Summer Deep Dive. Yes, welcome along to the latest EFL Debate Summer Deep Dive, one of 72 we're doing across the EFL between mid-June and mid-July. Already the full set uploaded for League 2 to YouTube and Spotify, some for League 1 as well, so get yourself subscribed. Once you're done with this one for now, delighted to be joined by Caz May from the GasCast podcast. Caz, can you reflect for me on the second half of last season under Matt Taylor?
Yeah, I think like you alluded to earlier, he came in and he had a great start. It was refreshing when he came in. It felt like we got rid of the stale attitude from the previous manager before, and it really did feel like the players were really up for impressing the new guy. And then we had some cracking results. So we beat Portsmouth, and we had 2 incidents where we came and won the game last minute. And I believe they were both from 1-0 down as well. So the mentality of our squad was really starting to pick up. So it was really refreshing for us as fans to see this new guy come in and completely transform the team into a team that actually believed in themselves again. I'm not entirely sure what happened from January, but if I was to guess, I think that because we had so many players that had essentially checked out, knowing that they're unlikely to be a Bristol Rovers player when the season ends, it kind of felt like a lot of them were already on the beach too soon. Right. And for us as fans, we felt like they were probably given about 70% each game, and it wasn't enjoyable. It was a slog. We were just desperate for the season to finish at that point. So I did feel for Matt Taylor, obviously not his players. He knew in his mind that he was going to have a massive overhaul coming, and that a lot of players would be leaving. So it was tricky trying to get the best out of players that just weren't interested in winning games at that point. So I'm trying not to look too deep into Matt Taylor's 2024 period. I think actually there's a lot of factors as to why we didn't play our best, and it was a poor end to the season. But that does give me a glimmer of hope that actually when he first came in, you could see that he got the best out of the players that he did have.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you like the... obviously, you mentioned that the performance levels in 2024 haven't been what you were maybe hoping for, but do you like the feel of Matt Taylor? He's always struck me as being a very honest leader, if you like, and somebody who you know where you stand with.
Yeah. I keep using the word refreshing, but it really is. Obviously, speaking of the previous manager, and just he's the complete polar opposite of him. Mm-hmm. He's very level-headed, very mature, shows wonderful leadership skills, knows what he wants. Obviously, the recruitment so far, which I'm sure we'll go into, it is different to what we normally expect from Rovers, to have so many players coming in so soon. He's driven, he's ambitious, and I do think he probably is the right man to take us forward at this stage. Obviously, I could be completely wrong in that, but I feel like he does fit the feel of our club. And I feel like as a club, we're going through a lot of rehabilitation at the moment, like not even on the pitch, but in general, like we've made some mistakes as a club, and the fan base has been divided. And there's a bit of a Darryl Clark feel to Matt Taylor. I feel like he can unite the fan base, obviously, providing results go well on the pitch. But the way that he, in the first few games when he was winning games, the way that he ran over to the fans with the players from the dugout and celebrated with the fans, he does the Jurgen Klopp like chest pumps, the 3 pumps of the fist, and his character comes out when he's passionate. So after Stevenage away, when we came back from 2-0 down and 1-3-2, and he went over to the fans at the end and he gave them a bit of a rally cry, which I thought was quite good. You get that character out of him, but at the same time, it's like not controversial. It's just all based on passion and wanting this club to do well. So I really think if the results go well on the pitch, we can all connect with him the same way that we did Darrell Clark. So fingers crossed that can happen.
Let's hope so. You mentioned the club have made some mistakes. What do you think the mistakes the club have made have been?
I mean, yeah, where do I start? I think, like, from a personal point of view, I think the way that we handled the previous manager, there's a lot to learn from that. It got incredibly sour towards the end with our players. Obviously, we got the likes of James Belshaw, who and Luke Thomas, who were openly being slated on the radio by him, and it's just like it got to the point where some people in the fan base agreed with it, some people disagreed, and I'm very of the mindset that the fans can reflect the results. Like we are a club, we are united, and if it's going wrong on the pitch and it's going wrong within the fan base and there's division all over the club, you're not going to see any progress. So yeah, I think with the club's decision making, and obviously I've let this known to the club myself, but I think we need to move forward now. We have made mistakes. Obviously, we can delve into like poor recruitment in the past and things like that, but I think the biggest thing at the moment is the division in the club, and we are working towards rebuilding that. And hopefully, Matt Taylor is going to be the man that can unite us all again. And then I honestly believe that if we can be united, it'll make the whole situation better on the pitch as well. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. My feeling on Bristol Rovers for a while, Caz, has been that there's been these sort of plans that the club has wanted to have, like building a new stadium, because the Mem, I think you've had the Mem for your entire existence or something similar to that. It's felt like for a while you've had this sort of idea of wanting to move to a new ground or develop the stadium or but you've not quite been able to make those changes happen under Vail El-Kiadi, and I'm sure there's lots of reasons for that. Do you think having a CEO in Tom Gorringe, who's been there, I think, for a couple of years now, do you think there is going to be a bit more forward movement that we're going to start seeing?
Yeah, I think so. I think now that we've got new ownership, I don't think Wales really has any say anymore. I don't think he's got much power. So we've got the Al Saids that have come in, and it's been like a complete sort of revamp. So some staff members have moved on. Not entirely sure what Tom Gorringe's position is right now. There's a lot of like rumors going on, but I feel like they've come in and they're driven. They've started to communicate with the fans a bit more, which is good. As much as Wales done a great job of clearing off the debts and things like that, we have been frustrated as a fan base because we have had the promises of the new stadium coming through, and that fell through. We had a whole thing with Sainsbury's where they went to buy the Mem and we were going to develop elsewhere in Bristol, but everything fell through. And I think for us as fans, it's just been frustrating to be given that hope for it to fall through. So I think it's the right time for Wales to sort of hand it over to someone else and give them a go to develop. And we're already seeing changes, like our South Stand has finally been redeveloped. So we've always had people sort of like ripping us for our tents in the away end, which I'm sure you've seen. So we've actually got a brand new South Stand now, which looks 10 times better. And then there's now going to be plans to redevelop the Mem properly, so not move to another site. So yeah, it's one of those, as Gaz says, you don't want to get your hopes up, but I feel like actually having fresh new owners, there might be now a chance that we can actually see some progression as a club.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there is something quite romantic, I think, about having this stadium where fans are standing up and it's a bit of an old-fashioned stadium. At the same time, you kind of want to modernise a little bit as well and kind of move forward. And it sounds like steps are being made. So I wanted to move back to on the pitch then, Caz, and have a look at the squad. You've got Jed Ward and as your goalkeeper, and then Matt Hall, who's come through the academy. Are you expecting to bring in another experienced goalkeeper, do you think?
Yeah, I hope so. I love Jed Ward. He's great, but he is still learning. He's so young, and he was fantastic for us last season when he had to step in when Belshire left. And what I love about it is because he's a Bristol boy. Fans are right behind him. You know, everyone wants him to do well. It's like that extra little bit of love that he gets from the fans that any player that comes from the outside wouldn't. But I don't think he should be solely responsible for carrying us forward this season. So yeah, we're going to need an experienced keeper. We've just lost Anthony Jacola as well, who was an experienced goalkeeping coach who was nurturing Jed and Matt and helping them to develop. But we're probably going to need to get someone to fulfill that role as well. So yeah, they're going to need the support. There was someone, I believe from Rotherham, Dawson, I think his name was, who
Cameron Dawson, yeah.
Cameron Dawson, who we looked close to sign him, but I don't know what happened there. That
No, I think he went to Rotherham, so he was at Sheffield Wednesday, but he actually went to Rotherham.
Yeah. I saw the rumours sort of milling about and got a little bit excited that we might get someone in, but actually, that didn't happen. But I can imagine we would be looking at someone similar to him to get someone in to sort of lead that goalkeeping unit and have someone who's a number one with Jed as backup.
Yeah, and then that gives Matt Hall a chance to possibly go out on loan as well, which would certainly help. So yeah, I can see why that's looking likely, another goalkeeper coming in. Talk to me about formation, Caz, because it seems as though Matt Taylor's one who likes to flip things around and sometimes go between a back three and a back four sometimes.
Yeah, I do wonder. I think he's probably going to go back three. He has brought in some players that can be quite versatile. So you've got Mola, for example, that can play in any position across the back line. But then from what I can see from Matt Taylor, he likes to play with wing backs, makes it a bit more exciting rather than pedestrian. So I'm not entirely sure at the moment. I think at the moment when we're looking at our starting 11, there's still so many gaps to fill, and I don't know what he's going to do. So we definitely need another centre back, for example. But I can imagine with bringing in Sotiriou from Leyton Orient, he's probably going to go for the more attacking wing back situation that can feed Martin up front. And yeah, I would say probably three at the back with wing backs, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out in pre-season, I guess. But you brought in Connor. You've got Connor Taylor there at centre back. He's obviously been quite an important player, especially going back to the promotion season. Do you expect him to be a key man again this year?
Yeah, I do. It's funny with Taylor because last season he just was a bit off it. But again, like what I said earlier, there's probably many more reasons for that, off the field issues and stuff, which shook up the camp a little bit, because he's brilliant and he will be a championship player at some point in his career, maybe even higher if he continues developing the way that he is. So I think last season was a bit of an off season, and I spoke to him at the end of season awards do, and he openly said that himself, that he had an off season, but hopefully now
fair play to him, Caz, that he's honest enough about that. You know, I kind of quite admire that if he's willing to say that.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, that a player can identify where they've sort of like gone wrong, and that's only going to make them get back on their feet and sort it out, sort of thing. So hopefully with this season, we're free of any controversy. We've got a steady manager throughout the season, and Connor can then develop properly and there won't be any hiccups. I know he had a few injuries throughout last season as well, which didn't help. But he is a really, really good player, and I fully expect him to be first choice centre-back throughout the season, if possible. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, and then you've got an experienced head in James Wilson, who's won Player of the Year before at Ipswich. He's won a title at this level with Plymouth Argyle. In theory, he brings some pedigree to the Gas back line. Has that sort of played out on the pitch for you?
Wilson, he didn't have the best season last year. There was a lot of poor performances from his part. Not sure what went on there. Like you said, he's done well at previous clubs, and I hope that we can sort this out with him. There's a bit of it's gone a bit sour between him and the fans. I think he told some fans to F off last season, and it got a bit not great. So I'm hoping that can be sorted out, that can be addressed, and we can rebuild that relationship with him, because I think he is vital in that back line at the moment. You've got Jack Hunt at right back, who is also experienced, but with Matt Taylor bringing in the new signing so far, everyone's really young. So we are relying on the mature players that are still in our squad to sort of support them and
or immature players.
yeah. And then you've got like him telling fans to F off. So that does need to be addressed. But
yeah,
if we can get the Wilson that other clubs have had and fully praise, then I'm sure he'll do really well for us. But unfortunately, it is a little bit sour with him at the moment, and we've got to let that not affect his performances on the pitch, really.
Yeah, well, hopefully he can come back, and the biggest way to make it up with fans is with performances on the pitch, like you say. Where are we at with James Connolly, do you think? Because he didn't start as much as he might have liked last year for whatever reason. Do you think it's a big season for him?
I love Connolly. When we first had him, he was brilliant. The fans really connected with him, thought he was great. But again, another one of those when you have them the first time round and it's great, and then you sort of bring them back and then it doesn't go quite so well. So he, I personally can't see him being a first choice. I'm not sure. He might even be loaned out somewhere. It's hard to say. Obviously, I want him to do well. Him and Taylor previously have been a really good pairing, but last season, for some reason, it just didn't work out that way. So personally, as much as I would love Connolly to be up there, I don't personally see him as a regular starter, unfortunately. But he's good to have as a squad player for sure.
Yeah, well, I think last year of his contract, I would imagine. So it could be a big season for him one way or the other, and hopefully he can either impress at Gas or possibly get himself a good move, loan or permanently. But you've brought in, you've sort of added a couple of talented centre backs, one of which from Chippenham. And I actually asked a coach called somebody called Jim Bryden, who's a part-time lead youth development player coach at Chippenham Town FC, and he says Dan Ellison has loads of talent and potential still to be unlocked. A strong, physical, athletic defender who can play when on the ball. He'll put his body on the line and win aerial duels. He's a great lad off the pitch too. Now, granted, I think that's National League South level, so a little bit of a step up, but it's encouraging that the club is open-minded and has its eye in the non-league scene and is able to pick up some of these young talented players.
Yeah, I think that's basically, you've summed up how we all feel about this signing. It's nice to see. It's good to see that we are thinking outside the box a bit with these signings. So sort of looking into it and seeing that he's a centre back, it made me think Connor Taylor straight away. Like he might be very similar to Connor, but also give that competition to Connolly for that space. And for him, it's great. We're quite local to Chippenham as well. And I think the last time we picked up a local-ish lad from non-league was when we did, when we got Ryan Jones from Weston-super-Mare. So it's given me the sort of same vibes. I do really like the club sort of scouting further afield and picking up that young talent, which could potentially be a huge sell for us in the future, make the club some money and develop him at the same time. And I believe from what I read online, we beat Derby and Sheffield Wednesday to him as well, which is quite impressive for us to beat clubs of that size. I'm not sure what factors played into that. Perhaps he knows that he'll be more of a regular starter at the Gas than he would those two clubs. He was probably going to be more in their B teams. But also maybe the fact that Chippenham's so close to Bristol as well might have played a part. So I think actually we're quite lucky as a club to have got him in. There's clearly a lot of clubs that were eyeing him up and can see him as a prospect. So yeah, I'm really, really actually quite pleased with the Gas for doing that and getting that over the line.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I think it's probably partly because you've got a manager in Matt Taylor who, when he was at Exeter City, a big part of the sort of process was you have a really good connection and link with the local non-league clubs, and you loan out your best young players to get first team experience there, and you build that relationship and you get a bit of a knowledge of the non-league scene as well. So I think that could be an exciting thing. But Matt Taylor likes young players, as we saw from his time at Exeter, and another defender is White, who's been given his first professional deal. So always good to see someone come through the academy and get that big breakthrough contract.
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, we've got some players like Luca Hall, for example, who I hope I'm right with that. It's gone through our academy. Jed Ward as well, like brilliant. It's lovely to see, and like I said earlier, the fans' connection when you know that it's one of our own really adds to it, makes it much more special. And I have noted that Matt's recruitment so far, everyone's been under 25, so he's definitely looking to bring in those players. But keeping some of the mature players in the squad like Martin that can sort of guide them. I think it's quite a nice balance. I think when we had Ben Garner back in the day, we kind of went a bit too young and then there was no leaders on the field. So it kind of backfired that way. So yeah, I'm interested to see sort of how he works with those players, and also like the contracts that they're all being given, like 2 to 3 year deals. We're obviously thinking ahead to the future of how they can develop and potentially make the club some money in the future when they go on and play in the championship or whatever. So hopefully it all works out, because I really love the idea of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've brought in Joel Senior, who played predominantly as a right wing back for Morecambe last season. But you were, and I think that's a really exciting signing. He was one of the best in League Two last season. But your other options are Luke Thomas, who would play can play a bit further forward, and Jack Hunt, who you might normally think of as a bit more of a conventional fullback, possibly in a 4. So it looks like Joel Senior's possibly going to be the one to nail down that right wing back spot.
Yeah, I'd imagine that he would be. Hunt's obviously a brilliant player, but so many injuries. So he's not, we can't consistently rely on him to start every game. So I'd fully expect Senior to be in that position. Obviously at Morecambe, he's had a great season. I think he was voted players player and fans player of the season. So they're probably gutted to lose him. He's obviously been brilliant for them. And I think he was offered a new deal and turned it down as well. So the fact that he chose to come to us, obviously the club are working wonders. George Friend, who's now director of football, is managing to sort of convince these players to sign for us, and obviously given a lot of promise, which is good. But yeah, I expect that, and I expect maybe we'll probably see Hunt sort of challenging for that position. But yeah, I think Senior will come in as a regular starter for sure.
Yeah, looks like a really exciting addition. You mentioned George Friend there as director of football. I think you've also got someone called Ed Jennings, who's been head of football operations as well. So that's kind of seems like a similar role. I don't know whether they'd overlap or whether Jennings is still there. Or
I believe he's left.
he's left. Okay.
Yeah, the club aren't great on communication sometimes. We're unsure sort of on a lot of things. There's been rumours that Jamie McAllister has also left the coaching side of things, but there's nothing concrete about that. So I don't think Eddie Jennings is at the club anymore. But yeah, George Friend has obviously stepped up. He was playing for us last season. So to be now promoted into that director of football role is obviously his first ever season doing this kind of thing. But it seems to be going well. Like, it's not Bristol Rovers at all to have 6 signings before pre-season even starts. So it is promising, and looking at the caliber of players that he is bringing in, he's obviously got quite a lot of knowledge there, and they've given him that job for a reason. So yeah, I really, really hope it works out well for him, because from what I've heard from a lot of sources, he is one of the nicest men in football as well. So I'll be really pleased for him if this pays off, and he can make a proper career in this sort of role. And hopefully
hopefully he can. That's good. Yeah, best luck to him for that. So you got in central midfield, you've got Grant Ward, who's to my eyes been pretty consistent there for Bristol Rovers over the last couple of seasons. You got Camille Conte, who you recruited from Grimsby in January, and I'm also actually wondering if there's a chance that because you've signed Isaac Hutchinson, that actually Anthony Evans might play deeper as well. So you've got a few options in that central midfield area.
Yeah, I think on the Hutchinson thing, because he's so similar to Evans, they're basically like for like, that Evans might potentially be off somewhere. There's probably talks. There's rumours that Evans isn't signing a contract. So I think he is his desire to move on elsewhere, which again, it's like, okay, the club have identified that and then brought in Hutchinson, who is literally like. So he scored 12 goals last season and got 11 assists. So he's obviously a really good player and will fit in well to this squad and play exactly like Evans. So if Evans does go, then we aren't going to miss him too much if we've got Hutchinson who can literally fill his boots. So I'm not sure about Evans. He might stay. In that case, it might be a bit of a competitive thing between them two, which is great. We like a bit of healthy competition. Grant Ward, he was injured quite a lot last season, but he when he's fit, is a fantastic player. He was one of
Mhm.
my contenders for player of the season last year, but he got injured and unfortunately sort of didn't have that chance to sort of continue playing the way that he was. Conte, yeah, fantastic player. Really, really pleased to have got him in. He has been such a difference to that midfield since he's come in. He's got so much quality about him, but he's one of those players where you don't notice too much, but he's just doing his job. Like, he's not doing anything sort of spectacular, but he's keeping it ticking in midfield. So I would fully expect him to be a regular starter. Alongside, Evans or Hutchinson, who might come in. And then on top of that, we've got McCormick, who can potentially come in as a central attacking midfielder as well. But yeah, you've got Ward, who could also be CDM. Like, there's quite a lot of options. I would say we probably could bring in one more centre midfielder, and then I think we're done for that position because we've got quite a few options, which is great. But yeah, all really good options actually. And if we keep hold of Evans, then even better.
Absolutely, yeah, because you've also got Jerry Lawrence, who's come through the academy, and then a little bit further back on the conveyor belt is Kofi Shaw, who apparently has really impressed as well. I think he's only a teenager, but he got minutes on the final day at Wigan last season.
Yeah, and that's what I quite like when the season sort of comes to a bit of a halt and there's nothing to play for, is you can give those academy players just like a bit of a run out and give them that experience of going out and playing within the first team. So yeah, it's good. I love to see our youth players sort of on the team sheet. They're always good to sort of have as backup rather than spending money bringing someone in. It's good to bolster our squad with those, and it's been quite promising actually seeing the likes of Jerry Lawrence, who's sort of been knocking on the door for a while actually, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him making more appearances on the bench this season and potentially coming on as and when it is appropriate. If we're cruising a game, for example, or if it's a cup game, you might get a bit of a run out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how those two develop for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then left wing back, you've signed Clinton Mola, who we mentioned earlier. He seems to have some pretty promising reviews from Reading. And again, you mentioned that word competition. You've got that with Bryant Bilongo, who's signed from Middlesbrough. So another area where you've got two players competing with one another.
Yeah. Don't know much about those two players. I'll be honest about that. But with Mola, a few of our fans mentioned that they noticed him at the Reading home game last season. So I think that is a good sign. If fans have noticed a player from an opposition team and remembered the name, you know that they're probably a standout performer. So I'm excited to see Mola. I expect him to be a regular starter. He's apparently quite versatile, so he could play anywhere across the back line, which is good because we might need that when we hit with injuries, that he could sort of slot into those positions. Bilongo, I'm not entirely sure we'll see him start very much. He's quite young. I think he's 22, but he's on a 2-year deal, so he'll probably come in as sort of like a backup choice. See how he gets on, sort of compete for his place in the team perhaps. But yeah, it's nice to sort of like bolster our squad a bit. And I believe we paid a fee for him as well. But that left back position needed filling, like it was completely blank. So I'm glad that we're being proactive and getting those left back positions filled up. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I review that I got on Clinton Mola from a fan called Neil Bobbins, a Reading fan, is he improved a lot during his time with us. At first, it looked like he had never met a ball in his life, but oddly found his feet when needed at right back. He's athletic enough for League One, but no monster. Capable, but can be a tad erratic in possession. So there you go. So a bit of a mixed review there, but hopefully he can. But also, Math said in May, Mola will be a decent pickup for someone. So there you go. So hopefully he can prove that. I think we've touched on Isaac Hutchinson, who I think we can agree looks a really exciting addition, whether it's a replacement for Evans or not. But then you've brought in Ruel Sotiriou to compete with your other attacking options.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I'm probably most excited about, to be honest. Probably because I love strikers. I think they're the most exciting signings anyway. But the fact that he was Orient's top scorer last season, again, not like Rovers to be poaching top scorers in the same league. So obviously it wasn't a lot. I think it was like 12 goals, but still top scorer nonetheless, and turned down a new deal at Orient to come to us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I think he'd be very similar to Aaron Collins. He will probably be a little bit wide up front and probably help to feed Martin, because I think Martin, he's a brilliant player, scores loads of goals, but he's not quick. He's not very mobile. He's just we need him there in the box just to be ready to poach. So I think Sotiriou will be great with, assisting Martin with scoring goals, and perhaps play on the other side to Thomas. So we'll have that nice attacking, fun football where you're sort of running in behind, you're crossing it, and not pedestrian like we're kind of used to in the last 2 seasons, where it's kind of walking the ball from defence into the goal. I'd like to see a bit more attacking, exciting play. So hopefully that's what Sotiriou will bring.
Yeah, I do think that's what Matt Taylor wants, that sort of trying to play forward with urgency. And I think that seems like signing someone like Isaac Hutchinson as well. I think he's someone who always tries to make something happen when he's on the ball. So no, I think that looks exciting. So expectations for next season, Caz. Would you be happy with a top half finish with the right signs of progress stylistically and developmentally?
I'd be buzzing with a top half finish. I think it's one of those where, yes, we're signing loads of like players. I say loads and loads. We've got 6 in at the moment before preseason. I'm expecting many more. So I feel like when you get this much of an overhaul, it's going to take some time for them to gel, for it all to click, for Matt Taylor to realize what his strongest side is. So I don't expect us to hit the ground running, and I don't expect this first season with this new squad to be necessarily a successful one. I think we're probably looking at a mid-table finish if we're going to be realistic with this, which I'd be more than happy with, because we have completely gutted the team, and it's going to take time to actually identify where our strengths are and what players are going to be best for our starting 11. So I would say probably about like 13th, 14th place finish. So yeah, if we got any higher than that, I'd be absolutely buzzing, considering, they don't know each other. We're basically a team full of strangers at the moment. But I am happy with that balance of maturity and youngsters. And I think that is quite like an exciting dynamic, because you've got the 2 sides of it. And hopefully with the maturity in the squad, they can really help to nurture these youngsters into being the very best that they can be. So yeah, I would be buzzing with it. I don't think that's realistic for us at this stage. Maybe the season after.
We'll see. So in terms of achieving your ambitions, then what are the big reasons to believe in Bristol? What's the biggest reason to believe Bristol Rovers could maybe venture into the top half this season, if you had to give me one reason?
One reason. Oh God, yeah. I think if I'm honest, I think with Matt Taylor in building his own squad, and he did really well at Exeter. So I think that like with it's probably a second reason now, but like with the unity that he can build, like I said earlier, if he can restore that unity in the fan base the way that Darryl Clark did it, then hopefully that can sort of drive us forward. Because I think a lot of our both our promotions with Darryl Clark, I don't think we necessarily had the strongest squad on paper, but I feel like the team spirit and the fact that he can really bring out the best of those players is actually what carried us through. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of desire to fight for the win. And there was a lot of like, go 1-0 down, pick yourself back up, go on and get the winner sort of vibe. And I got that from Matt Taylor when he first came in with the Pompey game and the Charlton game, and then beating Bolton away. It was like, wow, like this squad can do it, but we're not necessarily the best squad in the league or anything like that. No. But we've showed belief that we can beat these better teams in the league. So I think he can get that out of these players. And now that the ones that he's brought in are the ones that he signed, I think that we'll see players giving 100% from him as well. So that would be the only thing, I think, if by any miracle that we do get in we're anywhere close to the playoffs, then I think it would be Matt Taylor's management, I would say, that would get us there.
Yeah. That's a big one. I mean, I'm trying to. If I was to look at if building a starting 11 that can finish in, if I was to look at how far off you are a starting 11 that could finish in the top half of League One, feel free to add to what I've got here, or question any of my picks. But for me, I think Connor Taylor, Joel Senior, Grant Ward, one of Evans or Hutchinson, whether you'll play them both. Or whether you'll have both, and then Camille Conte, I think, and probably Chris Martin. So I would say you've probably got about 6 players for a starting 11 that's good enough to finish in the top half of the table. But I would probably say might need a few more additions, maybe.
Yeah, I would say Thomas is probably up there. He was one of our best players when he's on form. He's brilliant. So such an exciting player to watch. And I think with Thomas, he needs to be in a positive mindset as well. I think he's been quite open with like mental health struggles and things like that. Right. So I think when he's in a good frame of mind, he is one of the best players on the pitch. So
he's very direct, isn't he, Caz? He likes to run at opponents.
Yeah, and I would definitely add him in there if we were to be a top 6 team. That Thomas would be a big involvement. But other than that, I think you've probably got that spot on. It's too early to say about Mola at this point. So to add to our squad, I think we need another centre back. We need another probably 2 centre midfielders, definitely a goalkeeper and another striker, I would say. Martin's brilliant, but whether he can play 90 minutes every week, I'm not sure. So I think it'd be healthy to get another striker in that can sort of compete with that spot with Martin. And then you've got Sotiriou, who is very similar to Collins in that way. He's quite versatile up front. So I think that would probably do it. But I think top 6 is probably ambitious for the first.
Top 6 I think will be a bit of a stretch. So
we'll
see. And you never know. So in terms, what would be your reasons for doubt then, Caz, about whether Bristol?
I think it is just the fact that it's just been a complete gutting of the team and bringing in completely new players that need time to gel. So I think we probably won't get off to the strongest start. I think that is there's a lot of youngsters that are learning. You've got sort of like Jed Wood, for example, who is so young and is going to make mistakes. I just think we need that season to bond, to gel, to sort of settle in, sort of Matt Taylor to identify who's going to be the strongest in what position, who we need to bring in to strengthen in January, perhaps. I just cannot see with how many changes there's been, not only with the team, but with the management. I think if McAllister's gone, we're going to need to bring in a new assistant coach. So there's lots of behind the scenes stuff that's sort of going on, the new ownership. Still, like I said earlier, there's talks about Tom Goringe not being in the CEO role, so that's all happening. Right. I just think there's too much going on, too many changes for us to be a solid team that are going to be up there. So that's what's sort of planting the seeds of doubt in my mind. But hopefully it takes us a season to sort of get it all under control, move forward, and then season after, ask me again, and hopefully I'll be more positive.
Okay, so for now then, give me a number between 1 and 10 to denote your level of optimism.
6.
6, there you go.
Yeah.
Listen, Caz, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your insight on the Gas. Everyone go subscribe to GasCast podcast. Get subscribed as well to EFL Debate on YouTube and on Spotify. Drop us a comment down below. Let me know how you think Bristol Rovers are shaping up for next season. Leave a review as well on Spotify if you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you again very soon.